Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
You know, I grew up in Michigan, and one of the things going to school in Michigan, there's certain requirements. And one of the things you've got to know is you've got to know the 5 Great Lakes. And we all learned the 5 Great Lakes. So, and for Michigan, it's important because, well, maybe not important, but it's relevant because 4 of the 5 Great Lakes touch Michigan. You have Lake Superior, you have Lake Michigan, you have Lake Huron, you have Lake Erie. It doesn't touch at any point Lake Ontario. But how they taught us to remember the names is through an acronym, HOMES, HOMES, Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior, HOMES. And I bring that up because today's guest, who I'll introduce here in a minute, has a wonderful acronym for putting together, basically is the essential elements for a LinkedIn profile. And just a way of kind of keeping track of, hey, do you have these things? And I'll let her go into this, but it's HEAT. That's her acronym. I'm not going to steal her thunder. But at any rate, today I have on with me for a second time, Tracy Enos, and she's a LinkedIn expert. And I know I hear that thrown around a lot. There are a lot of people who, you know, they were managing a Taco Bell last week and then spent a weekend looking on LinkedIn. All of a sudden, they're an expert. I'm being a little facetious there, but not too much of a stretch. Tracy's been doing this for well over a decade, close to when LinkedIn really got its start. She has worked with clients in over 50 industries, from solopreneurs to Fortune 50 companies. She's an international bestseller of a book called LinkedIn Publishing to Profit. And she's part of LinkedIn advisory team and has been a part of that since 2013. Single mom of 4, Rottweiler lover. That's easy for me to say. But she'll tell you that it all starts with the profile, and that's when she's working with her clients. She really starts there. And Tracy, welcome.
Thanks, Frank. I'm glad to be here yet again. Isn't it the 3rd time?
It might be. I don't know.
I think it is the 3rd time.
Okay. All right.
We'll have to go back and check, but it doesn't matter. I'm here again.
Well, you always bring value, so you're certainly welcome. But we caught up a couple of weeks ago, and you were talking about your HEAT acronym for people's profiles, and you get on LinkedIn, and I don't know that my profile is perfect. I talk to people like you, and I feel like it might be lacking. I don't know. I spend a lot of time thinking about it, but I do see people's profiles out there, and they're not good. They're not thought of at all. In fact, I had a conversation with, and I think this is how a lot of people think. I had a conversation with a friend of my daughter's, and I've shared this on the podcast. And she was getting ready to graduate from college, and she was, coming to me. Her parents sent her to me saying, "Hey, talk to Mr. Agan. He'll help you. And, how do you do a job search?" And I just brought up LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn? Yes, I have a profile. I'm like, yeah, but are you on LinkedIn? And she said to me, I went through all the things I do on LinkedIn, and she says, "Oh my gosh, I get it now. LinkedIn is not a box to check. LinkedIn is an activity, like going to the gym or something like that." And that changed her whole mindset as to how she was going to approach her medical device sales career. So anyhow, it all starts with the profile.
I totally agree with you. In amazement still, I run into folks that are like, "Well, I'm on LinkedIn." I'm like, "So why?" And they can't answer that.
Yeah.
I just thought we had to be on LinkedIn. Well, I mean, you should have a purpose for something, don't you think?
Well, so, you asked me, in all honesty, you asked me that question, and I'm trying to meet people, and it's like, well, what's your let me be more basic. What's the sales function? What are you trying to sell? It's like, oh, okay. You know what? I really need to have a better clarity as the end in mind, because you can whittle your whole day away just having conversations with people. Are they the right people? Are they taking you one step closer?
Right.
And that's something I need to really hone.
Well, and like you just said, have the end in mind. And what I find with people like, oh, well, I'm there to go get, prospects or new clients. Okay, that's wonderful. But can we even, define that further? What are your goals? What are your long-term, short-term goals? What are your goals for the first month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months?
Yeah.
What's the end goal, right? And then what's your business objective, right? And then
Yeah.
you devise a plan on how to get there. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I just never thought of it like that. Yeah. Well, are we just going there to wing it?
Yeah.
Right.
And I find long-term LinkedIn is really formidable. I know a lot of people, people, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I mean, those are all the rage. That's bubble gum, and LinkedIn is kind of, or those are kind of like dessert, and LinkedIn's kind of your vegetables, and it'll always be relevant. Instagram's being challenged by TikTok. TikTok feels like it needs to be doing something. Twitter, they're all trying to one up one another, but LinkedIn is kind of that slow but steady. There aren't huge changes, little changes here and there, but it's just kind of what it was 10 years ago is very similar to what it is now.
Well, I'm going to disagree with that. Yes,
right.
maybe the basics part of it, right? That I think everybody forgets about. I always talk to, my new clients. It's called get back to basics. There's always going to be the shiny object in social media when they make changes. And right now that shiny object is to go viral in the news feed. And I'm telling my, mainstream clients, that's not where you start. That's an add-on once you have the basics and a well-oiled system working for you. And then we start adding other pieces in, because there's a lot that you can do on LinkedIn, but you really don't have to do it all, if that makes sense. But I think that what people, they forget is they got to start with the foundation. So why are you doing all this content and trying to go viral? And I mean, what's the purpose of going viral anyway? Is it vanity, right? Are you trying to get clients? So I had to tell you a story about what happened in my inbox yesterday about this very subject, but it all starts with foundation. So what if you create all this buzz and then people go back, they're going to get curious, right? Because 99% of your activities in LinkedIn starts with the profile, because you're posting content, you're doing direct outreach, you're commenting and engaging with other people's content and articles, you're getting involved in groups and whatnot, right? So people are going to get curious and they're going to come right back to what? Your profile.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where it starts. So are you missing opportunity? So this is why we ask, what's your purpose for being on LinkedIn? We got to first define that, right? Purpose, business objectives, and goals. And then once we've defined that, now we did define the who, right? Who are we trying to connect with? Is that a potential client? Is that a business partner? Is that joint venture? Are they referrals? Are you just building a vendor list? Whoever that may be, we need to identify that person. And this all goes back to my Dan Kennedy days. And I love Dan Kennedy. And he always talks about, that who, and so you have to identify that avatar first. What are their pain points? What are their ultimate desires? What keeps them up at night? What types of competitors are you, up against? How are you different? What if the potential, prospect, what have they tried in the past? What did they like and what didn't they like? You got to have a pulse on all this, right? What keywords are they using in that search bar to find you? Your products and services that may solve that problem or fulfill that ultimate desire. After all, LinkedIn is a search engine.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I guess to back up on my statement, not to backpedal, I think my point is that people are not growing tired of LinkedIn like they're growing tired of Facebook, or they're growing tired of Instagram. And TikTok's going to have its day and it's going to fade away and something else is going to come in. You got Snapchat, you got all these little fun little things that people, but LinkedIn just continues to be professional go-to.
It's a solid platform.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I don't see it going away because I mean, LinkedIn is they are very slowly. They are not one of those platforms that changes very quickly, but very slowly they're trying to attract the younger generation. Phasing SOGs out and attracting the younger generation. So they're adding aspects of the TikTok, the Instagram, the YouTube shorts, all that fun stuff. And that's all the content marketing. But I think still at the end of the day, the solid part of LinkedIn is, the relationship building aspect of it. And that will not go away.
No, I just think it ultimately, people need to level up. I was talking to somebody the other day, they're a custom suit, they sell custom suits, and you're talking about meeting soon to be graduates, right? And when you graduate from college, your wardrobe needs to graduate too. You have to graduate from t-shirts and gym shorts to having a look that's more befitting of the professional world, even though you like t-shirts and shorts. And I think it's the same thing with respect to your social media. You need to graduate. You need to graduate up to LinkedIn, and you can't have that same persona that you're having on Instagram and Facebook in LinkedIn necessarily. Anyhow, let's get into the meat of this thing. Does your LinkedIn profile have heat? That's a question you ask, and I want to kind of get into heat and what you mean by, you have an acronym, HEAT, heat. And we'll talk about each of those aspects for the listeners and go from there.
This is my favorite part.
Okay, well, that's why you're on.
Just like any marketing campaign, it doesn't matter whether it's LinkedIn or it's, offline marketing, direct mail, another social media platform, or email marketing. You need to have the foundation, right? And I think I just discussed a little bit of it earlier, is sit down and define the who, what, how, and differentiate yourself and your company. That's the beginning. That's the offline work, right? And so what that's going to do, the offline work is going to allow you to create the heat for your profile, right? So like I mentioned, 99% of your activities on LinkedIn is tied to your personal profile. And I don't care who you are, if you're the solo entrepreneur or you're the company executive, right? And unless you're the admin of your company page, which has limited features, you're doing everything with your personal profile. Right. So we have to make sure that profile speaks to our ideal audience. But here's what I find most folks forget, and that's the H. That's the human, right? At the end of the day, the word personal means person, right?
Yeah.
It's our person. So you've got to have the human in the profile. And by that, I mean, there are some sections in there that I see a lot of folks not filling out. For example, volunteer work, honors and awards, publications, projects, organizations.
I was going to say picture.
Picture. Yeah, I still see that. I had somebody try to connect with me yesterday that had a picture of their logo.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not the company page, folks.
Yeah.
This is your personal profile. We need to see your face. So so that's the human part too, because you know what, us as humans, we resonate with somebody's face, right?
Well, and I know that's the very, very, very basic, but you have, like you say, you have a lot of people who don't put a picture. And when I go on somebody's LinkedIn profile, I don't see a picture. I'm not consciously judging them and saying, hey, I'm not going to do business with them or not going to interact with them. But I can feel in my head, I can feel my brain kind of shutting down. Like, okay, maybe they're not as serious. Maybe they're not on LinkedIn, and so I think it's really important. It probably is. I'm sure being on the advisory team, you have statistics as to what happens when somebody has a picture or doesn't have a picture.
Actually, LinkedIn says that you get 21% more profile views with a personal photo.
Yeah, there you go. That's huge. That's
It used
huge.
to be 14%. Now that's 21%.
Yeah. So there you go.
That is huge. Absolutely huge. You know, and it still baffles me that the people that are active in like the news feed and stuff,
Mhm.
and you see this gray little box, you know, with the shape of a person, they don't have a profile photo. And I'm like, why are you on here? Why are you engaging with people if we can't see your face? Look, it's, you know, likability is all, you know, and trust. We'll get to that part here in a minute. That's all perception.
Yeah.
You have to understand people don't know you on this platform, not yet anyway, right? So whatever your activities are and your profile says is all perceived likability and perceived trust. Like I said, we'll get to that here in a second. So why not start with a photo? Smile at the camera, head and shoulders, not a photo with you on vacation.
Holding a fish.
That was, I think you remember that. That was my very first client. He was out of Philadelphia and he was a commercial and industrial roofer. And I asked him, I said, you know, what's a typical, you know, fee for a commercial roof? And he says in the 6 figures. And I said, so why are you on LinkedIn with a fish in one hand and a beer in the other?
Yeah.
Is this how you approach, you know, your potential clients? He says, no, I wear this, this, and this. And I'm like, then that's what we should be wearing in our photo.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a good rule of thumb. Wear something that you would wear to meet somebody in person for the very first time.
Well,
and if that happens to be a t-shirt and jeans, then that's a t-shirt and jeans. It just all depends on who your prospect is and what your goals are and who you're trying to attract.
But what I heard you say earlier is it's okay to put that stuff in the profile. Hey, I love, you know, on my spare time, I love to fish, blah, blah, blah. You know,
sure, absolutely. That's your human, right?
Right. Yeah.
People are going to like you. Oh, hey, I like to fish too. So now we've broken down some barriers, and that's, I like you because you like to fish as well. Now we can start a conversation about fishing, right? And then we can transition that over into whatever the goal is that you set for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what people don't understand. And they're still making it out to be the profile. It's so black and white and it's cold, kind of like a resume.
Yeah.
A resume doesn't talk about your personal stuff. It is very black and white text, and people have to read between the lines, which is very difficult to do. And it's not very personable, but the profile allows us to be that personable and human.
Yeah. All right. The H is human. What's the E?
The H is human, and E is expertise. So if we've done our foundation work, we defined what our expertise is, right? So you want to put that in there because people want to know that you have the expertise to help them, right? I can't hire you if you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
Right. So we need to showcase our expertise on whatever that subject matter is. So for example, Frank, what's your expertise?
My expertise is networking, connecting people, helping them generate referrals.
Right. And you do a fantastic job of that. I know, because you've been working with me on this, and you are a master connector, and that's amazing. I know that's why you're using LinkedIn. And so, which is wonderful. So you would say that in your profile, right?
I do. Yeah. I call myself I can't remember the exact terminology. I should have it up. I'm a student of networking. I'm always looking to learn. I'm always looking to connect people. And I have people who reach out to me and comment on that, you know, okay, can you tell me all the things that you do? And there's a lot to what I do. So, yeah.
Exactly. So you would say that in your profile.
Yep.
Exactly. So people now like, oh, that's his expertise, right? So that moves us forward. It's not just the expertise, which is just a statement about our what we're good at, right?
Right.
It now moves into the A, which is authority, right? Okay, so you say you're the expert at this. You say you're great at this, whatever it is. Show me that you are.
Okay.
Right? Show me the authority. So that could be defined as, once you understand what your competition is doing, how are you different? So differentiate yourself from the competition, right? Whether that's, you have the same service, but you do this better or faster, right? Or you have something that they don't have, like maybe an add-on or something like that, right?
Right.
And then you want to showcase the clients that you have worked with that have really great outcomes, right? So we like to do that in a couple ways. We will maybe give some examples in our about summary. What we'll also do, and nobody else is doing this, so this is very proprietary, and I'm probably going to see a lot more of this happening now that we're on this podcast and people are going to listen to it, is we may put a little blurb in the about summary. It says, go check out our project section for some of our success stories. So I use projects a little differently than most folks, because most folks would think projects is, oh, well, we collaborated on a book. So I worked with all these other people on this best-selling book, and that's great. That should be in your projects. But if you really want to drive people to, some of the stories that you have of the successful outcomes, that's where you drive them to. Guess what else that does? It gets people to scroll through your profile and see some of the other sections, the human side of you, the volunteer work, your education, your honors, your certifications, your organizations, and things like that, right? So it gets them to scroll. That's the whole goal, right? Get them below the fold, get them to scroll past your about summary and into the rest of the profile. And that brings us to T.
What's the T? We got human.
All this does right there is builds trust.
Yeah, we've got human, expertise, authority, and then the T is trust.
And the T is trust, right? So at the end of the day, we do business with people we know, like, and trust, right? People do business with people, not with company brand names. They do business with people within that company, right? So have you ever, been talking with your friend and you guys are just chatting around and maybe you're, discussing with your friend about how you'd like to get this, well, I'm just going to throw this out there, not you, that, you want to get this really cool Maserati, right? And your friend has luxury vehicles, whatever. And he goes, oh no, don't even look any further. I got a guy, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's always got a guy, right? That's a referral, and that's trust. Now you automatically trust that guy that you don't know because your friend says, I got a guy, and you trust your friend.
Yeah, you're borrowing trust.
You're borrowing trust. Exactly. So there's a section in LinkedIn that can also amplify that, and that's called the recommendations. So what you want to do here is get connected to your past clients, maybe your past coworkers, maybe your past people that, you went to an event with that saw you speak, or you wrote a book and they loved your book, or you got on a strategy call with them and they really liked what you said. Reach out to those folks and ask them for a recommendation. The recommendations are kind of like Google reviews, right? It's perceived trust, right? Oh, well, these people like what they did. I will probably like them too.
Well, here's some questions. I'll just throw a couple at you and you can, one big answer. How many is too few? 0 is too few. How many is too many? How often should you, does it matter if they're old? Do they roll off? Those are questions people ask about recommendations.
Sure. So obviously 0 is too few.
Yes. Well, I realized when it came out of my mouth, I knew what the answer was going to be. So 0 is too few. But I think 1 is still too few. But at some point, hey, you know what? Here's the bare minimum, Frank. It should be 10. It
is actually 10.
Okay.
And actually that didn't come from me. That came from LinkedIn.
Okay.
So LinkedIn said that they will start to show your profile organically more often if you have at least 10 recommendations. Now, I don't know if that means up to date or they're 20 years old.
Right.
So I don't know that. But what I do know is LinkedIn said the recommendations that have your keywords in them are more likely to get found in organic search. So what that means is when you ask for a recommendation, not regardless, but whatever the product or service or whatever it is that you provided for them, I always send them a recommendation that says, hey, it was great working with you. I would love it if you would send me a recommendation. And if so, would you please use these keywords, and I always put them in quotes while you write your recommendation, as it's important to link the LinkedIn search results, organic search results.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice, really. I mean, it thinks about, and I've asked people for recommendations and I've never done that. I've never said, hey, put these keywords. I almost want to write it for some people.
You actually, and some people will ask for that. So I always have like templates.
Okay.
And say, look, I'm not going to write this for you because we want it to be genuine, right? But here's a template that you can start with.
Okay. That's good.
So, and then of course, use their keywords based off of whatever the product, service, meeting, whatever it was that, worked with that person, whether it was together in different groups or whatnot. So, like I just, for example, I helped, I was on a podcast last year, and on the Mark podcast is what it was called. Mark Kramer reaches out to me, and I never asked him for, a recommendation of the podcast, but he reached out to me last month and said he got banned from LinkedIn. He got LinkedIn jail, and he reached out to somebody else and they weren't helping him, and said that, LinkedIn, they could get him back in or whatever. And they couldn't, because nobody can. And so I sent over, went through my LinkedIn to the contact support link, the right one, because he kept getting the wrong ones. And he got back in within 2 weeks after me sending him the right stuff. And he turned around and sent me a recommendation, said, I really know my stuff in LinkedIn. Now that helps, right?
Yeah,
definitely. So it's stuff like that. I mean, he wasn't my client or anything like that, but we had a successful podcast. And then out of the goodness of my heart, I didn't charge him to help him get him back into LinkedIn.
Good.
So, so it's anything like that. So, and then of course he used keywords, which helps. So secondly, don't go gangbusters on the recommendations. The old strategy used to be, I'll give you one, you give me one. LinkedIn's not dumb. So they know that strategy. If it's genuine, then sure. I scratch your back, you scratch mine, right? People like reciprocation, right?
Yeah.
However, you want to make sure that each one of those is genuine. So don't just go get recommendations for the sake of recommendations. You really need genuine testimonials about you. So my suggestion is some will, some won't, right?
Yep.
Go out and start connecting with the past folks, because that's the only way you can send a connection is our recommendation is you actually have to be connected, first connections.
Right.
And then you go in and ask about 20 people. And I do this in a double fashion. I will ask in LinkedIn and it lands in their inbox, but I will also send them a personal email letting them know that I sent them a recommendation. And if they would go and kindly check their inbox, click on the link and send the recommendation.
That's smart. I mean, there are a lot of people who aren't on LinkedIn every day. I mean, maybe they should be, but if you're out in the field and you're just not there. All right. HEAT, human expertise, authority, and trust. Great advice. I want to shift gears. I want to talk about Tracy. I want to talk about, what you do. You obviously help people with their profiles, some of the different programs you have, and then really how people can get a hold of you. And we're going to put in the show notes, you have the ultimate profile checklist that people can, a website people can go to. So floor is yours.
Yeah. The ultimate profile checklist. Right now it's 30 points. And I don't want that to sound daunting, because it's not, but it is. This is part of my digital course that's coming out here in a few weeks. And it's called the Ultimate LinkedIn Profile Framework. And everything that we talked about today, and then some, because we're going to go into company pages, and then what's the difference between the creator mode in profiles and regular mode in profiles, because there's some subtle differences. And that's all depending on what your business objectives and goals are, whether you are in creator mode or not. Okay. But we're also going to talk about maybe some stuff that's coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
So excited. LinkedIn. Here, can I share a couple of them?
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we didn't discuss this, but it's important to have a premium profile.
Right.
And by that, I mean, we're not on the free plan, and we are either on Business Premium or the Sales Navigator plan. Okay. One of the 3 plans on Sales Navigator. For most folks, that'll be Pro or Team. And they actually changed the names to Advanced and something else. I don't remember. They changed it last year or a year ago. But here's some possibilities. I'm not saying that these are coming, but I'm saying they're possibilities. I was very lucky to be on an opinion panel for some new LinkedIn profile premium features. So I'm really excited to share that here's a couple things that are possibly coming. So really think about whether you want to be free or premium. You're going to be able to get customized styling for premium profiles. You won't want to be a freemium member anymore. Get exclusive access to customizable text formatting and personalize your profile. So have you ever seen some people in their profiles that they have like bolded text?
Yeah.
Or they have like colorful emojis and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, right now you have to use other tools, and then you have to copy and paste. You can't just write it in. You have to copy and paste for that to show up like that. So you'll be able to stand out in search results and through your activities by changing font colors. See, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Adding italics and bolding words. Also add personality by turning your background photo into a carousel with multiple photos. Check that out. Is that not cool or what?
Yeah.
I'd like to have more than one call to action in my background photo.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. You'll be able to add badges and highlight sections. So think Google reviews for LinkedIn. So your recommendations, they won't be at the bottom of your profile anymore. They'll be up top. How cool is that? Now, do we want to go get recommendations?
Yeah.
Right? You want those highlights right there top. And an advanced about section. Oh, this one really excites me. With a premium account, you'll be able to elevate the details that help you stand out above your competition by adding tabs to this section. Wow. You remember, Frank, do you remember when you were able to put media underneath your about summary and then they took that away?
Yeah.
You can still do it in the work experience, but you can't do it in the summary anymore.
Yeah. People try to do workarounds that don't make sense, but I mean, they're obviously working around something, but yeah.
Well, you'll be able to do this now, and it will be, you know how you click on the see more? Well, it will be right under that. So you'll be able to share what makes you and your company, product, or service unique. Go beyond text-only descriptions by uploading images, videos, hyperlinked URLs, and tell your story. Very cool, right? Ooh, I love that. Now we're like a full concept web page at this point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Focused viewer mode. So help your profile stand out, ad free and distraction free. Adds another competitive profile similar to yours, which is the people also viewed, will be removed. So those viewing your profile will see you and you alone. Well, right now you can go in your privacy settings and shut off the people also viewed. But this right now will also take away all those ads around your profile if you're a premium member. So like they said, distraction free. Isn't that really cool?
Yeah.
And then custom profile call to actions. You'll be able to customize your call to action button on your profile to drive viewers and to take that desired action. So think like, you know, a webinar, a free guide, your calendar, membership, like my digital course, events, or a link tree to all your offerings. You can do this now in creator mode. And once you're in creator mode, you'll be able to have your little website that you can do like a custom text for it. Like I have mine. If I'm in creator mode, it says the ultimate checklist, or a profile checklist. But that's only if you're in creator mode. Well, this, you won't have to be in creator mode. It'll be automatic.
Wow.
So I see that's what's possibly coming down the pipe. See, this is what makes me so excited.
Well, to kind of wrap this thing up, if you have questions, if you need help, Tracy's your person. She just knows a ton. She knows people at LinkedIn. Best way to get hold of you, Tracy, through LinkedIn?
Yeah, at Tracy Enos. If you see the girl with purple, that's me.
Yeah. I will. Well, I'll put your LinkedIn profile in the show notes.
Great.
Along with the ultimate profile checklist.
And the ultimate profile checklist. And for those of you, if I happen to be in creator mode when you happen to land on my profile, don't just follow me. Ask to connect with me. It just takes a couple extra steps. Click the more button and then click connect, whether that's on mobile or on desktop. This way we can actually have a private conversation. You can't do that if you just follow me.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today. Everything. This is wonderful.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.